about. You have what's called like short sales. You have what's called the BRRRR model, which we're going to talk about, which is buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. Has anybody heard of house hacking? You heard of house hacking? I might talk about that. Airbnb, short-term rentals. I did it twice. I forgot I had it on there. Okay, and short-term rentals, a lot of time, we talk about short-term rentals, Airbnb. It's not technically real estate, right? Because all you're doing is you're more in the hospitality business. Does anybody know anyone that owns Airbnb? Any Airbnbs you guys know? Yeah. If you talk to them, it's not really real estate. It's more like hospitality. Because if you're...
On the homes.
Huh?
What if you own the homes?
Good point. Good point. Very good point. Oh, I like this. What I mean by it's not considered real estate, the business of Airbnb, it's your mindset. What I mean by that is if you really want to be successful in Airbnb or short-term rentals, you have to approach it from a hospitality standpoint. The reason is you have to approach it like hotels do because it's all about the experience. Who's your customer? Are you catering towards like families? So you have to make sure it's nice for kids, they have little toys around. Or you catering to a business traveler. Have a whiteboard in there, a desk, and professional look. So you got to know who are you catering to, like traveling nurses, right? So who exactly are you catering to? That's Airbnb. Yeah, nurse. Yeah, that's a big market for that. So that's what I meant by I said it's not really real estate. So the way because with real estate, we don't think about that. We can care less about hospitality. We're just trying to provide something that's clean, safe, and functional. But yes, as far as Airbnb is concerned, there are two models. I'm not going to talk about this. I'm not a professional Airbnb. There are guys that do it. You can own the real estate where you're doing your Airbnb, or you can just control it. So what I can do is, let's say Amir owns a rental property or condo. I can say, hey, look, you're having a hard time, same thing, having a hard time renting this spot out? Hey, let's do this. I can guarantee, how much is your passive or your mortgage? Let's say $1,500. I'll give you $3,000 a month. Oh my goodness. Like, this is a scam. No, it's really not. Right, so what are we doing? You know that when you've ran your business model for an Airbnb standpoint, because of the location, I know I can probably get $4,500 a month from their Airbnb monthly, his condo. And his mortgage is probably paying $1,500. So if I tell him $3,000 and it's guaranteed for 12 months, boom. So what I do is I sign a contract with him, controlling that condo for a whole year. I take care of repairs and everything. All he's literally doing is just literally getting cash flow. He's getting $3,000. He's getting cash flow. Meanwhile, I'm making $4,500. So everybody wins. So what am I doing? I'm controlling his asset, but I don't own it. That's a different ballgame. And people do it today. I know people that do that. Or I can just own it. But the issue with owning it is harder to scale. So now I got to get a loan from a bank, own like a condo, go get another duplex. It takes forever. But if I know you have a rental, I can just talk to all of you, get all your properties on the contract, sublease them with Airbnb and collect my cash flow from my business standpoint and pay you your underlying, monthly cash flow. Everybody wins. So that's where you talk about Airbnb and you're controlling the asset. There are people that teach on that. If you want more information on that, I can refer you to the guy that does it. He's very good.
Really quick on that. Mm-hmm. I think that that's a great way, to get into the real estate. But the problem is just like anything new, it's been around for about 10 years.
Good point.
A lot of cities are starting to really regulate.
Good point. Very good point.
What you can do. So, if you go into it and get all these places on leases, then all of a sudden the city says, hey, you're taking away from affordable homes or whatever the case is, they can really shut you down.
Right. No, it's good.
Yeah.
Did you want to say something?
No,
okay.
I was going to say, I think that's a big problem in New Orleans right now.
Yeah.
Which is where he's from.
That's right.
Okay, so there you go.
All my Airbnb.
Oh, you got some? Okay. Uh-oh, yeah. So personal experience. You're moving too fast.
Yeah. So
good point. Good point.
The thing with the Airbnb is you think you own your home, but honestly, they control what you can do with it to a certain extent.
You have something to say?
No, that's it.
Okay, so, and it's a good point he raises. The guys I know that do Airbnb, one thing they do is, at least from a Houston standpoint, they try to stay out of HOA communities. We have like homeowners association because they can be nuisances. They don't want you in their, what's it called? What's the law? Declaration, yes, in there. A lot of times it's not in there because the declaration was written in 1960. And we weren't thinking Airbnbs, but they'll still fight it. But I think in Texas, because Texas is very business-friendly state. Yeah. Republicans, you might, hey, whatever, hey, it's Texas-friendly. Their laws are business. So a lot of times, I heard of a case where an HOA was trying to stop an investor from investing. The investor took him to court and they won, all the way in Austin. And they passed laws that HOA, if it's not already in there, you can't stop an investor. So Texas, if you do it right. But bottom line, most investors, like if you take this guy's class, I think what they do is when they're teaching you how to get into Airbnbs, they tell you to just stay away from HOAs. Because you don't begin to fight them and it's not worth it. Go inside the loop, downtown, Milltown, where you have no HOAs, no restriction. And it's probably more freedom. So you see the wisdom there? So that's what a lot of these guys do, but that's not my space, so just thought I'd touch on it. We talked about this, so I'll keep on moving, escape the rat race. Let's keep going. Here's why real estate, from a passive income standpoint, not active income, I'm talking from a rental standpoint, is the ideal investment. This is from a rental or cash flow standpoint. For one, we talked about it. When we're looking at real estate, it's income. You're always getting cash flow or passive income. That's the I. The D is what? Depreciation. You guys heard of depreciation? Right? There's something called depreciation, which is a phantom expense, where you can depreciate your asset. Basically, the more rentals you own and the more money you make, you pay less taxes. That's what's going on. So what you do, here's what you do, a lot of people do. As you're making, let's say you're doing a lot of flipping and wholesaling, which we're going to talk about, and you're making a lot of money, like my friend who's making $30,000 a month. In order for him to pay less taxes, to offset his revenue, what you do is buy rental properties. Right? I'm not a CPA. I said it at the beginning. Talk to your CPA. They can help you through it. But it's true. That's why I have, if you notice, I have 4 rentals and 4 notes. That's the reason I add rentals, to offset my tax liability. I'm paying less taxes. So depreciation, you want to get a few taxes, not taxes, but a few rentals for a tax advantage standpoint. The E in the ideal investment, this is from a passive income standpoint. It's equity. Principal pay down by the tenant. You get a rental property, you put a tenant in there. Of course, we're going to talk about pre-screening tenants. You don't just put any tenant in there. You got to make sure you're screening them properly. But your tenant is paying down your mortgage, right? So you have equity being built in. And you can now leverage that equity and go forward. We'll talk about that later. The other part is appreciation, rising housing market, right? The last part is leverage, and we'll talk about that next, which is OPM, which is other people's money. You can use what's called the Burr strategy and things like that. So that's why real estate is the ideal investment. When you compare this to like the stock market or different investment vehicles, it's rare to find an investment vehicle. Again, they're vehicles, how to help you achieve your financial goals. It's rare to find a vehicle that will help you, that will check the box on across all these, right? Not to say they're not out there, but it's kind of rare to find them. And real estate is one of the top vehicles out there. This is from a rental standpoint, a passive income. If you're doing active, you might not be able to get all these advantages. But what I want to point out on here is that there's a post on Instagram. Again, my wife tagged me on this. You guys can read it when you get the post. She was basically saying that what they did is they had a home, her and her husband. They sold the home. What did they do? They did not go move into a home immediately. If you notice what they did there is they moved into a rental property for a year. Right? They rented for a year. And what they were doing in the meantime in the rental property, the proceeds from when they sold their home, what did they do? He bought, look at the last line of the first paragraph. We purchased an apartment building in November. They got a duplex in December. And eventually they were able to buy their house in January. So what they did is they sold their home, went to go rent, didn't get a house immediately. The proceeds, they went to go buy what? Cash flowing assets. And eventually they bought a home. So let me point out a few things here. I thought this post was amazing, right? And when you understand real estate and the strategies, you begin to understand what you're doing. So what he did here is, when he sold his home, there's something, and I think it's across the board, I want to say, there's something called the homestead strategy. Basically, and you can go look this up. I think it's across the country. If you have a real estate or residence, single family, townhome, condo, and you sell it, up to 200, if you're single, up to 250,000 of the profit, not the sale price, of your profit, your proceeds, is tax-free. Just think about that. You get a home 10 years ago, 5 years ago, it appreciates 100,000. You go sell it, you walk out of closing. What are you walking out with? $100,000 cash check. IRS doesn't touch it. IRS says, oh, good job. You understand the American dream, right? That's basically what, remember I told you the tax code is written for who? Real estate and businesses. So you have up to 250 grand profits if you're single. If you're married, you get up to $500,000. Right? And one of the main requirements is that, just think about this. It has to be your primary residence, and you have to own it for a minimum at least 2 years. So what do most people do? One guy took his course. You know what they do? What they do is they find a property, they buy it cheap, of course, they fix it up, they move in with their family. What do? They live in there for 2 years. Think about it, they bought it cheap, the property appreciates over 2 years. Remember, they already had equity in it. Maybe it's now worth 50 or 75,000 more. What do? They sell it, get their 100K, 75K, move to another house that they found for cheap, fix it up, sell it, and then moving from house to house within like a 5 to 10 year period, and they're never paying taxes on their profits. And what are they doing? Their net worth is doing this. When you look at people that are wealthy, most people that are wealthy, what they're normally talking about, and this is different, middle class versus upper class, or whatever, rich people, whatever. The difference is, most of us 95, what do we normally talk about? How much we make. We're like, oh, I make 100K, 200K. Most people that are wealthy, they don't even talk about how much they make. They talk about their net worth. That's their language. Different paradigm, different ball game. They're always talking about their net worth. So these guys, all they're concerned about is how can I increase my net worth? Whereas you and I were like, man, 6 figures. Oh, I just got a new job, 80K. Seriously, different mindset. So what are these guys doing? The reason they're doing it is they're just taking advantage of the tax advantage with this homestead strategy. They move every 2 years, they get profit, and their net worth is just increasing every time. Right?
It was only on the first home that you bought. So it's for every time you do it. I thought it was only on the primary. I thought it was only the first primary home that you had.
No, it's as many as you want. Yeah, you can keep doing it. As long as it's your primary residence and you live there 2 years.
Okay.
So you can sell it, move on, live there for 2 years. It has to be your primary homestead. You have to live there for 2 years. You can sell that again. You can just keep doing it.
Do you have to live in the home though? What if you buy it and you have a homestead on the home, but you're renting?
Right, and that's a very good point. That's why I say talk to your real estate attorney and your CPA. But the reason I said I was reading something, and I'll send you guys the article. You can do that. Basically, as long as it's your homestead, you don't have to physically live there. As long as it's designated as your homestead property, you can do it. So that's perfectly okay. You can do it. And I'm saying this because if you're younger, I was like, man, the things if you knew. See, if you notice, like you have family or parents that teach you this young, you begin to turn 17, 18, get your new house. This is what you're thinking. You're single. You're strategically doing this to your 30s. So your peers can't even compete because you're strategically thinking like this. So what do they do here? The last point of this this PowerPoint on leverage. They sold the house. They went to go rent for a year. They bought an apartment and a duplex. And now they moved into their new home. And I was telling my wife this. What were they doing? Their apartment and their duplex is now cash flowing. Let's say it's cash flowing $3,000 a month, just an example. And their new mortgage is what? $2,000 a month. They bought the house. They're not ever paying for their mortgage. Their tenants are paying for not only their investment property, but their main home. Have we seen the power of leverage? So that's kind of where I want us to think like that. How can I have somebody else pay for my lifestyle?
We Nigerians want to own our home in 30 years.
30 years. You can. You can't see. There's nothing wrong with owning your home 30 years. It's fine. It's perfectly okay. But I guess the key is how can somebody else pay for it, even if you're owning it, right?
I guess the takeaway from that is not to see your home as an investment as opposed to
Good point.
this is my home.
No, very good point.
Yeah,
Very
I
good
wanna
point.
Grow up and have everyone
Exactly.
the right price. I'm out of here.
Yeah, but see, the thing about this is, and it's yes or no, right? There's nothing wrong with using your home as your regular home, but the thing is, if you do happen to sell, it's just good to kind of know about this and understand the leverage. Because a lot of times people might get the proceeds of $100,000, and what are they doing? They just kind of maybe blow it, or they don't understand what to do with it. But if you understand, I sell it, I want to go get a new home to raise my family, it's okay. But let's say my new mortgage is $2,000, how can I have somebody at least offset some of that? You see what I'm saying? So I have $100,000, maybe I want to use $50,000 for whatever, other $50,000, go buy another property. And let that property cash flow to help me pay for my new residence. My new residence, I'm living, my family raised my family, and you know that the pressure is not as much. That's what I'm getting at. So the whole idea is that when we're talking about a cash flow investor, a guy, one of my mentors that I look up to from a known investor standpoint, he talks about like lifestyle by design. So you're considered what's called a lifestyle investor. right? So you invest for your lifestyle. Like, how can my lifestyle be truly financially free? I can be in somewhere in Africa, in Europe, travel to Asia. I don't have to ever worry about any bills being taken care of. My cash flow and properties taken care of. So my lifestyle is paid for. And I can still have a job. Or I can still have my business I run, but maybe I only want to work 2 or 3 days a week. It's really up to you. So that's why you think about cash flow and passive income. It's about the lifestyle. So I wanted to point out the homestead strategy and the leverage on when they sold their properties, bought some investment properties, it was paying for their new mortgage. So when you think like that, as you guys are buying and selling properties, you're thinking, man, how can I maybe sell something and buy a cash flow asset that's going to begin to help me pay for my car, pay for my kids' 509, is that what it's called, 529 and things like that. Or just pay for your lifestyle, whatever. A quick example on leverage. Right here. Here's the stock market. You made 100,000. Is anybody happy making 100,000 in stock market profits? I am, right? I want to talk about the power of leverage. The stock market is on the left on this PowerPoint. You start with 100,000. You invest 100,000 in the stock market over 5 years, which is this arrow. Over 5 years, you make $100 grand profit. That's perfect. 100% return on your money. Now, if you're in real estate, you think leverage. You have 100,000. You just don't go put 100,000 in your house. That's why I'm not everyone is different. But me personally, I don't believe in like paying off my house cash free. It's good. Paying it off, it's good. I have to leverage it. I just can't sit on that equity. I have to tap into that and get more properties. And anyway, so if I'm buying a $100,000 house paid off cash, like, oh, I have a $100,000 house. No. What do? You leverage. You can say now, remember I told you, ideally what you want to do is you want to have 20% down and 740 credit score. That's good, but let's say you put that aside. I have 100K. I can now buy 5 homes and put $20,000 down on each $100,000 home. Or you can put $10,000 down, you can buy 10 homes. Leverage. And what am I doing? Remember depreciation across the board? If all these are rentals? Just think about that. How much taxes you're not paying because depreciation across the board. So what do? You buy 5. In this example, you buy, with the 100 grand, you buy 5 homes. You put $20,000 down on each. In 5 years, of course, this is a hypothetical scenario, so I'm just trying to drive home the point. And they're like, hey, where is this again? Anyway, so this can be 100,000, this can be 250, it doesn't matter the price of the home, but the idea is the leverage. So in 5 years, just like the stock market, these homes all grow 100,000. That's not impossible. Not that much. You buy 5 homes, they jump 100,000, now your profit is $500,000. You started with 100 grand. Stock market, you only gain 100. So that's the power of leverage. So,
I was going to say, can I say something about
sure.
the whole idea of paying off your mortgage early versus using your money as leverage? I know we have all been taught and trained about, no debt, no debt, no debt, so you just want to pay it off, everything off early. But what Tim's talking about, like the concept, it really opened my eyes to what, the first time I sat through his class, I really opened my eyes to this concept, but even more, even if you're just investing in something else, right? It's much better than just paying off the mortgage. First of all, your mortgage is probably at less than 4% interest rate.
Good
the
point.
money is cheap. Depreciation alone is 3%. And then you're getting, interest off of your taxes. So there honestly is not a huge advantage to pay that thing off early. It's better for you to take the money out like he's talking about and use the money to do other things.
Exactly. Very good point. And the thing is, when you understand these strategies and leverage, you begin to think different. Well, my biggest thing here is to shift our thinking, that paradigm. You guys learn from what we're talking about. I learn from you guys also. Like he's right. He's giving a lot of good examples from Louisiana. I'm learning a lot of things too, right? So that's the idea, kind of the idea of a mastermind, right? We all learn from each other. So it's a paradigm shift. It's, especially in our community. We come from a wealthy family, Rockefellers and Robert Kiyosaki, or people that understand. Hey, sign me up.
There should be a balance though, so that you don't get carried away into like 10 properties. If anything happens, you still have to pay the mortgage.
Right. No, good point. Yeah, of course, like with anything, with any kind of investment, thank you for bringing it up, there's always a risk assessment, right? You're always going to assess your risk. And what you're talking about, you don't ever want to over-leverage. You got to be very careful. 2008, people over-leverage. People went and just took out $1 million line of credit, and boom, they couldn't sell them. And So you greed, you got to watch for it. Yeah.
One other thing that I also want to add is that when you buy your first home, you're putting down about 3 to 5%. When you buy your second home, it is 20%. So if you're thinking of putting down 20,000, you need to realize that is going to be, about 20% of what you're wanting to buy.
No, it's a good point. Yeah, exactly. From the lender standpoint, the lenders have different regulations if it's not your primary, if it's an investment property. However, what I'm going to add to that is, remember we were talking about investment strategies as investors? We're not buying from the MLS. We're not even using the banks. We're not using the banks for this, right? So that leads to my point there. This 100,000, right? There's something called OPM by, what's his name? W. Clement Stone. He coined the phrase, power of positive thinking. Other people's money, OPM, right? So what you do is this 100,000, it's not even my money. It's maybe one of you guys, you guys have a rich uncle or physician or doctor. Seriously, they have people, because a lot of people, like right now, because of the market cycle, money is cheap. There's a lot of available money to invest. In 2008, it was the opposite. People were holding on to their money. Money was scarce, but there were great deals. So you have to know where in the market cycle we are. Where the market cycle we are right now, there's a lot of capital available. People want to invest their money. They have money to invest, but the secret is now there's not as many deals. Because like even if I borrow somebody's money to get deals, I'm not just getting any deal. I have to make sure I get the right deals. So OPM on leverage is, even this money here is not mine, it's 100 grand. I can borrow this from maybe somebody at 8%, but I know all these deals will maybe bring it back 20% for me. Does that make sense? So I keep 12% net, and I keep 8%. Are you happy? You're beating the stock market. Your bank account was giving you 0.01 at Chase or Wells Fargo. Your CD was giving you, 1.5%, 2%, whatever they give you. So you're excited for 8%. Annualized percentage rate, not monthly, but annualized, right? But I'm making, so OPM, that's another point of leverage, right? So the other part of this is, we're talking about this leverage strategy. There's something called the Burr strategy. Basically what it means, just kind of explain it here. Some of you probably can't see this, but anyway. It's you buy the property, you rehab it. So if you're rehabbing it, you're buying it for very cheap. And a lot of times you're not using the bank. You might even use other people's money. And we're going to go to an example. You can use what's called like hard money lenders. They charge a lot more, but a lot of times they loan money specifically for investment properties, for rehabs, and they can give you the money within 2 weeks. It's asset-based lending. They look at the asset. Is this asset profitable? They'll give you $100K. You probably pay 12%, a lot of upfront fees, but hey, you're going to make all the money back. So what you do is you buy it, you rehab it, fix it up, you rent it out. Leverage, rent, ideal property, the ideal investment. And what do? Like Pastor mentioned, now you go back and refinance. You refinance, and when you refinance, what do? You cash out your hard money lender, you pay them off, right? And you keep the proceeds, and what do? You rinse and repeat. Okay? So that's the Burr strategy here. So what are you doing here? You're buying a property for 20 grand. Let's say you're buying, because you can really buy property for 20,000. Let's say you buy 20, let's say it's 40 grand, doesn't matter. Let's say you do this across 3 properties. You buy for 40 grand from a hard money lender. You put another 20K to fix it up. You're at 60,000. It's worth like maybe 100, 150. Most local credit unions and most banks will give you up to like 70% or 75% on a cash out refinance. So what do? Let's say you're all in at 50,000, including your fixing it up, the money you borrowed. You're all in at 50K. What do? You go you buy it, you rehab it, you're all in at 50,000. It's really worth 100,000. You go to your local credit union. Before you do all this, you make sure you understand the terms of your credit union. Does that make sense? You don't go buy it and at the last minute say, hey, they're like, we can't borrow. You're already stuck. So a lot of times we already are doing our due diligence up front. We've already built the relationships. So as we're doing this, we know it's going to work. Remember I said you're making money when you buy, so you're doing all your diligence all the way up front. So what I'm doing is I'm all in at 50,000. Remember, it's 100,000 worth. I bought it for like 20. I'm all in at 50. I go to the bank. My local credit union, the loan officer, is going to give me up to 75% of the appraised value. It's appraised for 100,000. So how much are they going to give me? In this case, $75,000. I'm all in at $50,000 with zero of my personal money in the deal. I borrowed that money. I borrowed the 30K, the 20K to buy it. I borrowed the other 30K, whatever, to fix it up. Zero of my own money. OPM, other people's money. and the burst strategy. So what do? I refinance it. I put a tenant in there because I can get a tenant at, let's say, $1,000 a month. You know, I cash flowed, maybe the new lease is at $1,500. I'm cash flowing $500 a month. How much did that make at closing? If I refinanced at $75,000, I'm all in at $50,000. How much cash did I make? $25,000 cash. Is it taxed? Is it taxed at $25,000? It's taxed. It's tax free. Uncle Sam doesn't touch it. You know why? Because it's a loan. So as I refinance out, I get that money at closing the pros. And I did this. I'll show you guys an example. You get that cash at closing. IRS doesn't touch it because it's a loan. But it's all leverage. So I have that $25K. Now what do? Repeat. I go and buy another one. Do it again. All without my money. So that all without my personal money in it. And I'm
Pay that person back.
yeah, but no. You mean the 50K?
Yeah.
But that's my profit is the 25K. That's what I'm saying. So I'm all in at 50. Good point. I refinanced at 75 with a local credit union at maybe like 3 or 4%, maybe a little higher for investment properties. They charge a little more. So I have 75K cash at closing. He's right. I have to pay off. I have to cash out all my lenders. I give them that $50,000. All my lenders, they're happy because they probably made 20% of that money. I don't care. I give them that money back. The hard money's lenders happy. You're happy. You bought me $20,000 to go rehab it. You got like 15%. Oh, you're happy. But I'm happy. I got $25,000 at closing with zero of my money, tax free. Right? And I'm cash flowing about $500 a month. A deal investment. If you look at these people at Wall Street, I've heard about it. I don't know too much about it, but most of your maybe fund managers, what they call them, this is how they make most of their money. Because what they do, you guys invest in mutual funds, and they do all the work, the active investing, and they're making their money off the fees. And that's how they. One of the guys I know that he went on a cruise somewhere, I think Bahamas or wherever, one of these places. And I think they got a boat, and they were like on the ocean, and they were like they saw boats like 20 times bigger than theirs, and they found out who owned the boats was the Wall Street guys. Because fund man, when we're all investing in these stocks and mutual funds, this is what they're doing: is they're making the money off the difference. And their risk is pretty much zero. They're using our money, other people's money, investing in the stock market. You're happy, you're making 8%. They're probably making way more. But it's the same idea. That's what I understand. When you understand financial literacy, you can do this for a car, anything. When you understand how this works, okay? So that's the power of leverage. I wanted to touch on that. Any questions on that? I want to fly through a few examples. All right, let's keep going. So here are some deals. Find them, fund them, flip them, and flow them. I mentioned this earlier. In the real estate investment game, it's very simple. It boils down to two things. Either you're good at finding deals. That's where our investment company come in. We're pretty strong at marketing. We spend a lot of our money on marketing. We market looking for good deals. We're trying to find cheap deals. Or you have money. Some people just have money. Like I said, some of you probably have money in your 401k just sitting there from old jobs. 100K, 60K. Not really happy. Well, you can come make 20%, 15% in real estate. Just find somebody you trust and invest with them. So you find this or you find somebody with money to close on those deals. Does that make sense? And that's why you don't need the banks until you maybe need to refinance if you decide to go that route. So I mentioned this earlier. You guys might be thinking, okay, Tim, you're mentioning all this stuff. Where do you find these deals? There you go. You get these slides. Right? Here's how you find the deals. The mistake I made when I started was I was just like, hey, how can I make this money? Hey, how can I find deals? Wrong mindset. But when I got into a mastermind and began to teach us, they're like, no, your mindset is wrong. Think about how can I find problems to solve? That's any business. How can I solve people's problems? And look at the problems people have. Tax delinquent. In Texas alone, I don't know about Louisiana, in Texas alone, every first Tuesday, there's a foreclosure auction held. Every first Tuesday in Harris County and actually across Texas. You can go there and buy properties. We don't go there because they're overpriced. We buy them before they even get there. But you have tax delinquent properties. I'm just going to go down. You have properties from mortgage foreclosure, like I said. We get about 90% of our deals here. So in Harris County alone, in Fort Bend, most counties, what they do is when a property is about to be foreclosed, it's going to be part of the public foreclosure auction. They have to list the property publicly so people can know there's an auction coming up. What we do is we get the list of all the properties. We go through all these files, the notice of sale. I have a VA at Hire that does it. I used to do it myself, but basically what you do, so we get the phone numbers of the people, and we reach out, call them, text them, hey, property's going to foreclosure, what do you plan on doing? Stop calling me. Okay, sorry. I'm just being, stop calling me. Okay, sorry. Anyway, it's a business, all numbers game. Law of averages, right? So we don't care. Okay, sorry, ma'am, wrong number. It's okay. My bad. So anyway, so we get a hold of people finally like, oh, I want to sell a home, just like the property I have at a 4 o'clock appointment today in Dearborn. She was honest, like she made a lot of mistakes. She's in a bind. She has to sell, right? So what we do is before we even get them, we sit there and we walk them through all their options. You tell me, then I'll tell you how we can help you. And even the way we're going to tell you how we're going to help you, it has nothing to do with us as our company. We're going to help you. If you want to keep the home, I'll tell you exactly what you need to do to keep your home. But if you're thinking about selling it, we helped a lot of people without buying their homes. We help people that people don't even know their property is about to be foreclosed in a few weeks. I don't know how that's possible, but they're like, really, I'm foreclosed? You didn't know? When's the last time you paid your mortgage? They're like, oh. So what we do is we educate them. And we present their options. If they tell us they want to keep their home, we tell them your 2 best options is come up with the reinstatement money. Let's say you're in arrears $10,000, and it's going to include the late fees and all the attorney fees and accrued interest and everything. You have to pay that one payment. The bank will not accept partial. They want the full payment or the foreclosure is going forward. Simple. You don't have the 10K, or like go borrow against your 401K, borrow for, okay, you don't have it, good. Okay. Your next option, you can do what's called like a loan modification. The bank will go back and modify the loan. You can stay in the house. That's excellent. Once you pass those 2, your next option, you're getting into muddy waters now because you're thinking of maybe like bankruptcy. That's chapter 13. We don't normally advise it, but sometimes people in a position, they have to do it. It's a strategy. Bankruptcy, some people say, I don't want to do bankruptcy because of their credit. Okay, good. Now I'm working with a realtor. Literally, we go through the options, right? Because we want to let them know that we're your best option. We know, but we want them to see it. Because most people that are in foreclosure, they're in denial. I have a lady I'm dealing with right now. She's been in the house 42 years. Older lady, her husband passed away. She's about to be foreclosed on March 3rd. Her property, she owes about $56,000 off a home equity loan they borrowed. She can't repay. The property is worth like $130,000. See the equity in there? And I'm trying to tell her, like, ma'am, look, if you want to keep it, pay it off. She's like, she doesn't have the money. I'm like, okay, look, we can come in, we'll buy it from you. We'll give you $10,000. Like, to sweeten this pot, I'll let you stay there for a whole year. Because I know there's a lot of equity, of course, right? I'm like, I'll let you stay there for a whole year so you don't have to move out. I'm like, your alternative is if you don't do something, on March 3rd, your property is going to be sold and the sheriff is going to come kick you out of that home because you're trespassing. The bank has taken it back legally. I'm like, now you're going to get kicked out, probably be homeless and have $0 because your emotions. So we try to snap them into reality. Gently, of course. Just snap, because you have to let people wake up. Because what happens a lot of times, they're like, oh, we're going to deal with it. We've had people call us back a day before the foreclosure. And I tell them, look, there's nothing I can do. But there's something they can do. I tell them, like, look, there's something they can do. You probably know about it. It's called like a TRO. It's called a temporary restraining order. You can file it, but again, that might cost you thousands of bucks. You have to hire an attorney. They're going to, shoot, okay. And they have to file it. But all that does is just gives you 30 days. You're still in the same issue. So your problem is not resolved. So we come in and say, look, what we can do is we'll pay off your arrears. We'll reinstate the loan. We'll stop the foreclosure. We'll take over your mortgage, pay it every month for you, on time every month. We become responsible for the loan. However, in exchange, we get the house. The house becomes ours. We close at a real estate title company with a real estate attorney, draft up all the paperwork. If you have any equity, we give you some money to help you move at closing. But we take over the deed, and it becomes our property. The good news, when you work with us, the good news is we're not going to rush you out of your home. We'll work with you. If you need a few weeks to stay, a month, that's fine. But the bank doesn't care less. You need to be out. If you don't get out, the sheriff will come get you out.
So what if they finally still don't want to go after a year?
What do you mean?
By force?
Well, so that's a very good point. Like after a year, see the thing, it's our own. But so that's the risk we take. And most people you talk to, they're like, man, don't let the owner stay. But if the equity is like $70,000, I have a lot of cushion. So if I let her stay, even if we have to force her out, which you don't want to for whatever reason, I have to pay the expenses, we still have money built in. But a lot of times, what a lot of investors do is there's something called cash for keys, right? So as opposed to forcing a person out, like, look, I can spend this money, $1,000 to foreclose you, evict you, blah, 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 or I can just give it to you. People that are sensible, as long as the place is clean, it's tidy, there's no issues, give me the keys. This $1,000 I was going to hire eviction attorneys to evict you and everything. Here, you get to keep this. People will take that. It's reasoning with them. They'll reason. They won't mess up your place. They'll just leave kindly, right? So those are the risks you take. I'm saying that because we get 90% of our deals from pre-foreclosures. Oops, sorry.
Can I add something to that?
Sorry, go ahead. Huh?
So, I represent homeowners a lot of times, and it's everything Tim's saying is absolutely true. It's like, get your emotions out of the way. You can't afford this house, and I try to negotiate a cash for keys if they can't save your house. Temporary restraining order for a private lawyer is going to cost you like $5,000.
Oh, I didn't even know it was that much. I thought it was $1,000.
If you came to me, I'd be like $5,000. Cool. It's just a lot. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and it's not a sure shot for the homeowner. But in terms of like cash for keys and everything you're talking about is exactly what I advise my clients through whenever we're in a situation where I like to phrase it like, okay, you can't save your house, so let's make the landing as soft as possible.
That's good.
And cash for keys is generally like the easiest way to ease out the door. Let's get you some money so you can move on with your life.
So you guys just take over, you guys buy it, or you know somebody that might buy it or something?
No, I won't buy them. I'm kind of advising them through the process.
Oh, okay, you just kind of advice. I got you.
Homeowner comes to me and is like, I don't trust this investor from the Ebie group.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we talking fast now.
Is he selling me a whole lot? And I was like, no, this is actually the truth. Just break it down for them. Maybe speak a little more slowly.
Right. And he raised a good point. What we do a lot of time, we're talking to them because they don't know us from anywhere. We just text them or call them. We're quick to introduce our real estate attorney and title company because they just feel more calmer. A professional, a company, an office in the Galleria, it's a title company, they're reputable, you know. So we just say, hey, look, talk to a title company, talk to an attorney, and we introduce them, and they're more common. They begin to trust us easier. But then they trust or no trust. I just try to, you know, it's rapport. Listen to people. I'm like, look, because one thing I tell people when I'm talking to them, just telling this how our business model is built. I tell them, like, look, we're the only ones that talking about our company. Most investors don't do this. We're the only ones that's going to tell you all your options. I'll give you options there's 6 options from option 1 through 6. My thing is I'll present them to you. I'll send them an email. You think about it, pray about it, Google it. If you decide to come with us, give me a call back. Educate them. Because what happens is when people are facing foreclosure, they don't know all their options. When you talk to the bank is only going to tell you what they can do. Modification, deed in lieu of a foreclosure. In other words, you sign over the deed and we won't foreclose you. Or short sale or modification. You talk to a realtor, like I said, a realtor will say, oh, I can sell your home, but you don't have time with a realtor. You talk to an attorney will be like, hey, bankruptcy, they'll file it for you. They only tell you what they can do, right? And you talk to some investors are like only what they can do, but we come in, we give you all your options because we want you to make the best choice. And when they come to realization like, wow, I can't afford this home, hey, here's what we can do. That's where we step in and we just take over the property. So that's how we get 90% of our deals, pre-foreclosures. There's also a pre-foreclosure for HOAs. Your HOA can and will foreclose you for like $1,000. Your house is worth $300,000. They'll take it over $1,000. Yes, a lot of times. Yeah. So pay your HOA. Do not play with them. Pay your condos are notorious. Townhomes, homeowners association, they're notorious. Or if you live in a subdivision, pay them. They will. Anyway, let's keep going quickly. Probate.
We have been involved in the, something like that. Not us directly.
You're right.
The HOA, they have the power.
Right. So you have your what's called like probate. People that probably didn't have their will or they have a will. They have to go through probate courts. That's a good way to get deals. You have inherited properties. You can get deals through there. People that just want to sell fast. A lot of times you have people. I don't do it as much, but you can put like what's called like abandoned signs. We buy houses. You've probably seen them around. People will call you, but you might get fined by the city. People that have a lot of unfinished repairs or major projects, they probably just get stuck. You might know your neighbors, like, oh, I can't finish the repair. You can come in and buy it cheap. A lot of the time you see for sale by owners, call those people up. They're more willing to negotiate when there's not a realtor involved because realtor has that 6% or their commission built in. For rent by owner, a lot of people don't know this. You can see people that want to do for rent is by the owner. Call them and ask, hey, do you want to sell? You'd be surprised. The reason they probably rent is because they can't sell it. But you know some of these strategies you can apply. You have what's called like tired landlord. We get some of these also. And a great way to come find tired landlord is through eviction courts. Because they're there trying to evict the tenant. There you see them, they look tired. The tenant is a nuisance. You can see they look tired. They have bags on their eyes. They say, hey man, you want me to take this off your hands? I buy it for $20,000. But seriously, so tired landlord, there's something called 30, 60, 90 days with TransUnion, Equifax, and experience, you can get a list. You probably have to pay them or find a way to get the list. But you can find people that are 30, 60, or 90 days behind their mortgage. Yeah, it's crazy how you find deals. But the thing about this 30, 60, 90 days, a lot of them are still in denial. If after 90 days, it goes into the foreclosure process, which is here. A lot of times, we approach them after this. I don't like wasting my time. A lot of times, they're in denial. We wait till when they get that letter. They're woke, they're ready to move. You have what's called like code violations if you don't keep up with your property. The city has code violation team, and they'll put a ordinance say you're in violation. Fire damage homes. Some investors buy fire damage homes. Fire burnt down, they'll buy it. Also, expired listing, long days on market with the MLS HAR. You can get their list and call them, hey, this property didn't sell, try to get a deal. A lot of vacant property, boarded up homes, you see them inside the loop or anywhere. You might have a neighbor in your subdivision. You'd be surprised how many vacant homes you probably have. Call the owner. That's where we can get the phone number. It's called skip tracing. You can skip trace and find the owner and cold call them up. This is huge, divorce. A lot of times, the thing about divorce, the reason that motivated is because a lot of times for the divorce to be finalized, they have to sell the property. And they need you to sell fast. So she's like, man, sell it, I'm done. And so we come in and buy it, divorce. They're called decree leads. So if you go like to the county's website and trying to see the thing, when you reach out to people, you never say, hey, I notice your property is, I notice you guys are going, no, you never mention that. Well, I do that for foreclosure just because I'm trying to wake them up. But for all these other ones, maybe it's probate, especially it's kind of sensitive. You don't want to do that. What we do is we just send out like message, hey, look, I'm buying properties in this Northwest Houston. I know you have property. We have a few in the area. I'm looking, have you thought about selling? Very generic. Oh, matter of fact, we have. Yes, we know you have. Because we knew your property is probate. Because you got to be careful. You don't want to, anyway, go as you want. There's something called driving for dollars. Basically what you do is you literally just drive around areas, subdivisions, and try to look for homes that are vacant, boarded up, vacant basically, and you call them. This is a great way to find this if you're getting started. Just drive around neighborhoods. And one time I was just driving around here in Katy, areas where I know investors invest in subdivisions. I'll literally just drive, and there's an app called Deal Machine. Take a picture of the home. It can immediately send a postcard to the homeowner, right there. Use the app, send it out. Or what they do, some people, they hire drivers. And the drivers are just driving subdivisions, neighborhood, driving. Look for boarded up homes, home with high grass, mailbox, a lot of mail. So there are different signs you can tell the home is abandoned. You can tell the home is abandoned, and what they do is they just send out postcards and see if they want to sell.
There was a house down the street from in my subdivision. I noticed the grass hadn't been cut, and because I'm a real estate lawyer, I knew how to look at all this stuff up. And a friend of mine was looking to buy in my neighborhood, and I was like, hey, the grass hasn't been cut. I checked the tax records. It says the person died. I checked the probate court records. Like, you don't want to tell people you're doing this. It's all public record. But
It is public.
And my wife said I was weird. It's just what I do for a living. And I was like, hey, call this person because I found that they probated their dead mom's will. And then it's I was walking for dollars.
Jogging for dollars.
And I was trying to help a friend out in that situation.
Right, and a lot of times, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you want to buy somebody, you see how people buy these cheap deals. This is how you have to be on the lookout. Like, when I used to live in Inglewood in Cypress, there was a house abandoned for a while, but I wasn't into investing. I just know, oh man, that house has been vacant. You can talk about high grass. But later, I was like, oh man, I wish I knew. Because that probably was a deal sitting there for months. But if you don't know, you guys probably seen vacant homes. You probably just have no clue. You don't cross your mind. But investors, light bulb. Cash is going. They just know how to go investigate and find them.
But sometimes, we have received too many, flyers.
Of course.
You want to buy your home. I never, there's nothing like high grass or anything, just randomly.
Yeah, no, it's not random.
Yeah, we have received too many.
Is it a vacant house? Is it a rental property? Your main
we
house?
live there.
I know what it is.
They
We own it.
So remember when you went through the
And
zip codes that are most popular? So they live in 77449. So
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
in a very popular area.
Right. So no, so there's certain hot zip codes that investors love to invest in. 77 is it 449? It's one of the hot ones that parts in.
Let me tell you, somebody walked into this property, and say, I want to sell this property for you. It's like,
Sell this one?
yeah.
Oh wow.
And do you want, But the thing is that we are thinking of selling it, but not right now when we get, a property for the church. But somebody like that, he just walked in cold turkey.
Right.
He just walked in and walked.
Plant that
He's
seed.
working for dollars, he's just trying.
Right.
He's
It-
working for dollars. I'm just giving an example that
Right.
it does happen. And this man walked in, and it happened that we may be selling it in the future.
Of course, they know.
And from time to time, he still calls.
It's follow-up.
Like last week, he called.
It's follow, and that's what they do. So it's pretty simple. So what they do is, that's one example from a commercial standpoint. You just build the relationship with the homeowner and when they're ready to sell, you're top of mind, right? Someone said there's two kinds of money. There's now money and there's future money, right? So you're in marketing. There's now money. Somebody has to sell. They're motivated. And there's future money. You're not motivated yet, but when they become motivated, it's future dollars coming in your business, right? But if you have a home like that, a lot of times you might say, oh, I don't fall under any of these categories, but people still call me to buy a home. There's other stuff. I couldn't list everything. It's crazy. There's something called like high equity list. So what they do is there's a place called like List Source where the data is built from, I can't remember the name of the companies. Anyway, companies that build the data, they can tell properties that you have basically you have 100% equity, 90% equity, 70. So,
The 100%.
so you probably, if you own your home, we have a list. They're called like high equity owners. So what they do is they literally just send out postcards, just cold call them. Like, look, you have a property. You think, sometimes like, yeah, I want to sell. Boom. And now I can easily negotiate like 70% of the value because you have a lot of equity. So you're more flexible. Maybe like, I'm thinking about selling it. So what they do is they look for two problems. They look for high equity. It's not really a problem, but they also look for what's called like absentee owners. You might own a property here in Katy, but you live somewhere in Columbus, Ohio. And it's absentee. You don't live there, but it's maybe you're renting it out, but you have a lot of equity. So they'll call you. You might be a tired landlord. You're like, man, you know what? I've been thinking about that selling that property. Oh, how much do you want? Get a deal and you get cheap properties. That's how you build your cash flow and your assets. So there are a lot of ways people find properties. Money listings. I like to list like real problems. Somebody has high equity. That doesn't mean they want to sell it. So I don't like waste. I still have a job, so I have to be very strategic. I try to go for high motivation, people that are ready to move, right? And it just works out, so everyone is different. This is an example of a deal we did. It was pre-foreclosure. They had an HOA lien. It was flooded. He had major repairs, and his wife had died. Look at that, 5 problems. So he was extremely motivated. So the more problems, the better. And we got the house. Right now, my friend is trying to sell it. I think we made quite a few dollars on that. Let's go through this pretty quickly here. When you finding a deal, let's say you find a deal, you want to rehab it. I'm going to go through this pretty fast. I'll give you the slides. You're going to get what you want to do is you want to find a property. Yeah. You want to find a property at about 70% of the after repair value, right? And the way you do it is the property, simple example, the property is worth $100,000. Your starting point, you want to be at $70,000. That's 70% of the value. You also want to subtract the repairs. And you're looking at repairs, always watch out for the big 5. These will cost you the most money. The roof, your plumbing, electric, foundation, and the HVAC, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. Right? These are going to cost you the most money out of pocket. So let's say it's worth $100 grand. Let's keep going. Okay. Let's say the property is worth $100,000. Your repairs are $30,000. Who knows what your maximum? This is the maximum you can offer the person. Who knows what your Simple math. Very good. See it? So fix and flip. This is again active income, right? Property is worth $100,000 after repair value. You know it's estimated 30,000 repairs. You bought a contractor. It told you 30 grand to fix it up. You say 100,000. How do I get this 100,000? I have a relationship with an investor like Pastor Fallu. I say, hey, Pastor, can you quickly run comps for me? The comparables in the neighborhood. What are homes going for in the neighborhood? Oh, average home goes for 100,000. I'm like, oh, perfect. So I talk to the homeowner. I know it's worth 100,000. How much I can resell it for? It costs about 30,000 to fix it up to get it to a good value. Because remember, these are homes that have problems, have issues. House. I offer them. I'm not going to start at 40. I might start at like 30 or 35 or 32. They might accept. If they don't accept, as I'm negotiating, I'm not going to go more than 40. That's how I can get my profits in. So that's an example of how you analyze a fix and flip to rehab. You might ask why 70%? The other 30% because you have 15%. Remember there's 30% left. 15% is your profit. Safe. That's minimum profit. 15% return on your investment. The other 15 is holding cost. Holding costs, real estate attorney, title company, everything else in between, insurances. So you need to be at 30% just starting lower in order for you to make a 15% return on investment. That's minimum. I'll show you an example I did. We made either 70 to 90% profit. But yeah, So that's fix and flip, active income. I'm going to go pretty fast. So if you have questions, just hold up. We'll talk at the end. Rentals. If you're analyzing the rentals, you guys get these slides. A few things. You want your rents to be at 1% of the value of the home. We'll look at that. You have to understand what the market rents are. You can get from the MLS, multiple listing service, or have a relationship with an investor-friendly realtor. Or you can go to rentalmeter.com to quickly get the comps on the rentals, how much the rentals are in the area. Know what your expenses are. If you don't want to manage it yourself, get a property management company, right? Factor in vacancy, repairs. Something else called a capital expenditures. Normally it's good to have about $5K just sitting on the side, just in case, like, oh, the AC went out. Oh, do you have $5K? Because AC is expensive. Around the big five, you seen that? So you want to just have money in an account just in case the roof, something, HVAC, foundation issues, plumbing, just in case, just sitting there in an account. So if your tenant calls you, you can pay the $5K immediately. Determine your cash flow per month. How much cash flow do you want to get? You want to get $100,000 a month, $250,000, $500,000. What are you going to do with the cash flow? Like Loretta was saying, for our son, what we want to do is we want to buy a rental property. He can maybe have like a 30-year note. He goes to college at 18 if he decides to. The property cash flows for 18 years. He turns 18 and says, I want to go to college. What we can do is we can either sell it or we can do what I mentioned, $500 a month net profit. What do? We put it into a UTMA. Who's paying for my child's college, me or somebody else? Are you seeing the mindset I'm talking about? I'm not even paying for my own child's college. What I do is I do the work to set them up. And the monthly $100 a month that goes into his UTMA, into the stock market, I'm not even paying for it. It's from the cash flow from my rentals. Or if I have a car. You have a car, you picked up a car, the car note is $500 a month. You go buy a rental. As opposed to going buying a new car, you go buy a rental property. Right? The rental property is cash flowing. All your expenses are factored in. You're getting appreciation, you're getting depreciation for taxes. You get $500 a month, your car note is $350. So somebody else is even paying for your car. So the car you drove here, you're not even paying for it. So let's say you have 10 of these. You get like, what, $5,000 a month. Your mortgage is covered. You have 10 rents. Are you seeing the mindset? That's the mindset we have to be thinking of. How can we get assets to pay for our lifestyle?
So when you say 1% of value, is that an annual rate? Okay, is that an example?
Yeah, I'll show you an example. Okay, yeah, so basically what I mean by 1% rule, there's a 1% rule when you're buying rentals, it's going to be about $1,000. That's just the reasoning. You have to, monthly, exactly, right? But the issue with that, with the 1% rule, is the higher your home is, it doesn't mean the rental goes up. So just because you have a house worth like $350,000, that doesn't mean you're going to get $3,500 a month, because they cap out about $1,700, $1,800. Because think about it, if you're renting a property, you're not going to go rent $2,300 a month. You can find something. You can find nice homes and nice areas for $1,800 a month. So when you're looking at the curve, the higher your property goes up in value, there's only a cap you can rent out. That's why when you're buying rentals, you want to stay between. Ideally, if you're buying a rental property, you want to stay really ideally at 150 or less. And that's why I told you like 77449. Those homes about 150, 170. That's why investors want those. But you can go all the way up to 200,000. It's fine because 1% is about $2,000. But you're not going to find a man who want to give you $2,000 for a $200,000 house. Like my house right now is worth in Cypress. I rented out. It's worth like $239, $240. The most we get is like $1,750. If I didn't know better, I'm like, oh, 1%, $2,400. No. We tried to list for $1,850. It wasn't moving. I knew the price was $1,750. I dropped it immediately. We had 3 offers come in. Right? So you just have to keep that in mind. So if you're investing, or if you're trying to invest to buy a rental property for cash flow, just know where you need to be. Safely, 150 or less is great, but don't go more than $200,000. Do not go more than $200,000 because you're not going to be able to get as much rents for it. You're not going to get the rent for it. Here's an example. So quick example is worth $100,000. Your payment to the mortgage is $500. Okay, here's the example. $1,000 for the rents. Your expenses are about $300 a month. So your rental income is $1,000. Your expenses are $300. So something called the net operating income. This is no more in commercial real estate. It's called net operating income. So your income is $1,000. Your expenses for repairs, vacancy, blah blah blah, is $300. So $700 a month is your net coming into you, right? So 700 times 12 is $8,400. So that's your net operating income. But you still have a mortgage on it, remember? Of $500. So the thing here is, your cash flow is $700 from your net operating income, but you have a debt service. You have to pay the lender, Wells Fargo, back. So your true cash flow is what, $200? That's not bad. You can pay for your child stuff and car note, Netflix, stuff like that. But the thing here is, if I'm making an offer, I want to buy a rental property. Because remember, and this is why I talked about identity at the beginning. I know my identity is buy and hold investor. So what is the maximum I can pay for the same $100,000 property if my identity is an active investor? The most I want to pay is $40,000. But if my identity is a buy and hold landlord, the most I can pay is what? I can pay up to $84,000 for it. Because based on the NOI, the net operating income, if I do $8,400 divided by this 10%, which is what's called like the cap rate, anyway, 10% return on my investment, I can pay up to $84,000. I don't want to pay $84,000, I want to pay up to. So if I approach a seller, they want to sell their property in distress, my identity is a buy and hold. Your identity is fix and flipper. You come and say, sir, the most I can pay is $40,000. I come and say, oh, he said 40, I give you 50 for it. Look how much my numbers are. Imagine my numbers at $50,000. I'm paying how much more profit I'm keeping. But because I know my identity. And you see why I said identity is important up front? So the more you know your identity, you can know how much you can offer. Of course, the cheaper you can get it, the better, because it just gives you more profits as a landlord. Quickly, I'm not going to go through this, but different ways you can buy properties. We've already talked about this. You can go cash, bank financing. There's something called creative finance. We don't have much time for this. But you can use seller financing and you can finance it to them. You can do equity partnering. This is the example of a property we bought. I told you it's a land in Wharton, Texas. I'll give you guys an example where even if you don't have cash, you can still buy a property for cheap. So the lady had a piece of land. It was about 0.3 acres, maybe 14,000 square feet. Pretty nice. She wanted $10,000 for it. She's facing foreclosure, but on something else, on a different property. But she wanted to sell her land. She can use it for a property. She wanted $10,000, so I was like, okay, you want $10,000? Okay, cool. I'll give you $10,000, but I'll give you options. How I'll give you the $10,000. So I gave her an offer, letter of intent, and we presented 3 offers. The first offer was, she wanted $10,000, but I can give you $4,000 cash up front. These are the terms. The second offer was, I can give you $7,000, right? With terms. But the $7,000, I only give you $2,000 cash at closing. The other $5,000 balance, I'll pay you $200 a month for what? Oh, I didn't take it out. That was like 6 months. There you go. And we can close the same terms. Or the third one is, oh, you want $10,000? I'll give you $10,000. I'll give you a full accent price. I only give you $1,500 cash at closing. The other $8,500, I'll do a one-time balloon payment after 36 months, 3 years. So at first she saw this, she got excited, and she she come back to the team, what is 36 months? I'm like, no. She's like, 3 years? She's like, no. We end up getting it for $5,000. Because she's like, no, I want my cash now. I'm like, you want cash? Okay, you want cash? Here's your offer for cash. You want $10,000? Here's your offer for $10,000. These are the terms. So the thing in investing, there are 2 things. If you determine the price, I determine the terms, how I pay you. That's how it works. If I tell you the price, you tell me the terms. So you want $10,000, I'll give you $10,000, but there's a way I'm going to give you the $10,000. You can't get price and terms. I have a mobile we're trying to negotiate. She wanted price and terms. I'm like, ma'am, it doesn't work like that. You want the price, you determine your price, I tell you the terms, how I'm going to easily walk. You still got your issue. It's all positioning in real estate or any business, right? So she ended up she wanted cash. Okay, I gave her cash. I changed my terms. I went up to $5,000, which I didn't mind. About different ways you can, because there's something called time value of money. Money in the future is cheaper than money today, right? So why would I want to give her $10,000 when I know I can give her $8,500 later? This $8,500 in 3 years is very cheap compared to today. So I don't want to come up cash. So she's pretty much doing seller financing, and we come up with what's called a promissory note, get an attorney. They drop a promissory note that I promise to pay her. If I don't pay her, she can foreclose and get it back. So this is how, basically I create a note. I give her a note, and she becomes my bank. There's ways you can fund deals. You can look at this later. You can save all the way to use your credit cards, which we don't, very careful. You profit when you buy. We talked about this. We already talked about this. House hacking. Google house hacking if you want to own your first home. You'll be happy you did. Let's look at the case studies before we close, because I was done by 12. We have about 15 minutes. This is where I wanted to kind of get to the case studies. Any questions so far? All right, so let's use the next 10 minutes to kind of go through these case studies. Here's the first deal we ever did. because I want to drive the point home. I'm not just up here talking about this stuff we've actually done. The first deal I did, I told you guys, remember it took me, we started in August 2017. I found a deal on Craigslist in October. It didn't close to January. So basically, I posted an ad on Craigslist saying, hey, I buy houses. You know, the guy called me. He worked on an oil rig. He was on the verge of bankruptcy. He was like, man, I'm about to do bankruptcy. He's like, look, I don't want no money. Did you ever think people not want money on their homes? I never knew this. People like, no, just as long as you can solve my problem, I don't want no money. Just solve it. So the property was worth anywhere from 170 to 180. He owed about 138 payoff. Right? He's like, as long as you pay it off, I'm happy. He couldn't afford the mortgage anymore. He just wanted to pay it off. It was in excellent, pristine condition. Literally, all you had to do was, you didn't even need a cleaning crew. All you literally do, just come, get your sign, put in the front, and rent it, and sell or rent. So basically, you know, so my friend, I had just started, I didn't know about real estate. Oh, what is all this real estate stuff? So remember I told you my friend from Bank of America? He's been in the game. He has like a list of 60,000 cash buyers ready to buy properties. So I'm like, hey, you need help. Because I needed, again, I'm thinking of leverage. His experience, he had the contracts, he knew everything. He can walk me through it. So what did we do? We just decided to split the profits. We signed a joint venture agreement saying as we sell it, we're going to split the profits. So what he did is, not like 100K sitting around. I know people had cash like that, but I didn't know at the time. So she came in, she's like, okay, how much? Because she was a buy and hold investor, long-term tenant. She thinks long-term. So she's like, man, look, guys, the most I pay is about 142. It's worth about 170, 180. She's able to maybe cash flow. It's like most I pay is 142. Like, oh man, but we were happy. We knew his payoff was 138. So there's really no negotiation on this. Does that make sense? That's his bottom line. He didn't want no money. So we were trying to negotiate with her like, hey, 145, but we had nobody else. So boom, we closed quickly. We ended up closing later. The assignment fee was kind of, first I was happy because to me, it proved that this works. That's why I was happy. I can show that it works from step one to the end, A to Z. I know it works. All I have to do is replicate it. So we made about $4,000. We did a joint venture agreement. We both made that $2,100 on this. When I'm talking about an assignment fee, basically what it is in real estate is something called wholesaling or assignment fees. Basically what I do is I buy property from you. Like I mentioned, the property is worth $100K. I come to you, negotiate for like $30,000 for whatever reason. You agree to sell it for $30,000. I say, oh, $30,000? Okay, good. Sign right here. 30? 30K, like, we're going to close within 30 days. Okay, ma'am? My LSU bites. But on the contract, we put something called and/or signs, right? That you can assign the rights of the contract. It's a business term. You can assign it. Even if it's not on there, in Texas, every property is assignable. Sometimes we tell them, like, look, we might sell it. But most cases, we say 30K, good. I come to you, say, hey. And now I have investors I've built relationships with that have cash. Guys that just have money, want to buy property. Like, hey, I have a property that's worth $50,000. I mean, I said it's worth $50,000, it's worth $100K. Do you want $50,000? You say no. Okay, go to you. Let's say we do a deal. 50, okay, sign right here. You want $50K? I got it from him for 30, right? It's worth $100K. So I take both paperwork, both contracts, the assignment contract, the original seller contract. I go to the title company and say, hey, put this, do your magic. Closing day, you come to closing, you're excited, 30K because you're trying to get rid of the property. You get 30K. You bring your 50K. There's a 20K difference. Who keeps it? We do, in our pocket. That's called the assignment fee. That's what happened here. So it's one strategy in real estate. It's active income. We still employ it because that's how we build capital, right? It's active income. It's wholesaling. The great thing about wholesaling, it's probably one of the most risk-free businesses. Think about it. I have no risk. As long as my contract is clean, I say, look, if we can't close, we'll let them know, but I have no risk. He has the risk. My friend that I told you that bought this deal a few deals back, I don't go all the way back, he still hasn't sold it yet. He paid me it's a $15K assignment fee, $15,000. He paid me the agreement. He said, look, I'll give you $10K up front. If I sell it for a certain price, I'll give it $5K at closing. But he still hasn't sold it. It's been 6 months later. Again, in Houston, if you're buying and flipping properties, be around 200 at the most, 250 at the most. This property is north of 250. The deal we lost money on in Energy Corridor right here on I-10 in Kirkwood, properties worth like almost $400,000. I would never go that high for a property. And most investors, you call them like, no, I don't buy properties over $300,000 because they know your buyer pool is less. But most people easily, if you have a $100,000 home, it's easy to sell it. 150, 200. When it's not going past 250, you just got to be careful. So this is how you analyze deals. Because somebody comes and say, oh, property is worth $500K, but they don't want to sell it for $300,000. You still got to be careful. You might have a hard time moving it. And you'll be sitting on it. That's how you become the motivator. But we'll be calling you. Say, hey, man, you still ain't sold it. You want me to buy it from you? Anyway, There's our first deal. This is buy and hold. The first one was wholesale at the top. You see it? Active. Buy and hold, passive income. This is my actual property in Inglewood. That's the address. My previous balance, I refinanced a long time ago. It was $18.59 a month. That's kind of high, but I didn't care. 15-year note. That's why I agree with Dave Ramsey. He tells you buying a house, buy 15 years. He's actually right because amortization schedule, you pay less interest, right? Okay, so $18.59 a month. I had paid it down. It was about $180,000 loan or $170,000, I can't remember. Paid down the balance about $111K. The lender appraised it for $240,000, right? I went to the cash out refi. Up to 70% is normally about $170,000, $180,000. I only went up to $165,900 over 30 years and go up to 75%. I encourage you to use a local credit union. So my cash at close, remember I told you, tax-free with the leverage example I used, was $42,000 approximately. Tax-free, leverage. The whole idea I did it was I want to buy more assets. Remember that example I used with the Instagram guy with the homestead stuff? It's the same thing. He bought it, they moved in there, got a rental, and they bought more assets. So my idea is, as we cashed out, is to buy more assets, right? But this is an example of a passive income because now the second part of this is the property was at $18.59. I originally had it rented out. Now I put new tenants in there as of this January for 2 years. Here's the new terms. This is my Inglewood buy and hold because I know my identity more passive income. Inglewood deal continued. The new mortgage now is $14.67. It was at $18.59. It's now $14.67 a month. Of course, it's 30 years, so it's cheaper. Interest rate is about 4%, 4 point something. Here's the income I'm bringing in right now. The rent, remember I told you $17.50 in that neighborhood? Okay, but they have dogs. I didn't used to like dogs before to my rentals. When you know dogs are a source of income, most people have pets. If you have a rental and you're trying to rent out, I encourage you to open it up to people with pets because a lot of people have pets. When I learned that, okay, I'll charge you $25 each for each of your dogs. So the dogs are a profit center for me. So I'm getting $1,800 a month from the dogs. I love the dogs. And of course I get like, I love them because it's business. So now what I do is I make sure I get some money up front just in case the dogs mess up the place. Security deposit for the pets specifically. So the expenses right there is pretty low. I put aside about 8% each month from the cash flow. 117. HOA. Most people don't do HOA. I put $65 a month for HOA because my HOA is like $760, $780 a year. So here's my net operating income. $1,800 is coming in a month, $182. I'm getting $1,618. That's net if I didn't have a mortgage, net operating income, times 12, almost $20,000 a year. Imagine if you had 5 of these. And didn't have any mortgage on it for whatever reason. But $19,000 a year. My cash flow, NOI, minus the mortgage, it's about $150 a month. I can put $50 towards my son's UTMA easily, right? I don't have to pay for it, which is cool. Ideally, I like to be at $200. In mobile homes, when we do mobile homes, our minimum is $300. The difference is we don't even own it. We're the bank. So it's even better. This one I own. If they have issues, they have to call me. But I wanted to show you guys the idea of the passive income because of my identity here. When I refinance, right? Keep going. So I get to $42,000. They put in my account TDECU. I'm like, oh man, $42K. Don't go blow it vacation. It's not wise. Leverage. We're thinking, how can we buy more assets? So I find a deal, pre-foreclosure. Remember I told you pre-foreclosure? Lady called me. She's like, hey, 10K, Tim, I don't want this condo anymore. She's like, she ain't living. The tenants are crazy. Man, we can help you solve this problem. It's okay. So we get it. She says, oh, boom, HOA was foreclosing. They're ready to move. They're pretty aggressive. She was asking $10,000. It was worth about $40,000. She's saying $10,000. $10,000 is what the dollar amount I had in mind when she was talking. Well, regardless of what she said, I'm like, man, the most I'm going to pay is $10K. She said $10K. I'm like, oh, my heart's skipping. Like, oh, my goodness, perfect. Condition, it needed work, okay? I offered, so she wanted $10K. I didn't argue, okay, I offered $10K. Like, look, let's move on. Got the deal for $10K. Here are the numbers. You guys probably can't see this, but the bottom line is we ended up selling it for about $36,500. It was really worth $39,000. Here's our actual return on investment. We sold it after like 2 months, 92%. We were all in $18,000, about $19,000 all in from Inglewood, $42,000. We're all in at $19,000 to get it ready to be sold, and we made an additional $19,000. So our return, our gross profit actually was about $17K, $17,500. Our actual return on investment was about 92%. Our APR, annual percentage return, over 2 months was at 552%. Y'all know some other investment vehicles that can bring up 500% in 2 months?
Was that on the mobile home?
No, this was a condo.
Okay.
Yeah, mobile home is different. But I'm just saying this is how we got a great deal because the secret was I bought it at wholesale. I bought it so cheap at $10,000. By the time I was all in, I was all close to 18 grand, but still it's worth close to 40. Okay? Here's another one in Deer Park. Condition, I don't know. It doesn't matter because I don't want to rent it. So if it's a wrap, I'll tell you guys. They're in arrears. They owe the bank $9K. The balance left on her mortgage right now, the couple's mortgage is $130. The value is between $170 and $180, depending on who you ask. So my offer is like, look, ma'am, I offer to help you solve your problem. We'll catch up your arrears. We'll pay the $9K, and we'll take over the monthly payment of about $1,200 a month. Now, so there's something called subject to. I'm not going to go into this. Ping me later. It's basically another way you can buy a property. You buy subject to the existing financing. I just take away your mortgage, basically. It's called subject to investing. Remember, you don't need a loan. You need some cash. So my acquisition strategy is subject to the existing financing and what's called my exit strategy. I got to know what your exit strategy is. Remember I mentioned earlier, you got to know how you're going to make your money when you're buying it. I can either buy it subject to, my exit is to rent, or own a finance note, what's called a wraparound mortgage. So here's what we're going to do. Once there, my possible exit, rentals or wraparound mortgage, be the bank. I see how this comes together. This is how I'm analyzing this deal with you guys. I'm looking at this afternoon. Passive income. If I want to acquire subject to the existing financing, take over home mortgage, and rent it, here are my things I got to consider. Rental. And Loretta, you mentioned this. If you're doing a rental, I'm just putting this all in together. These are kind of repairs you have to consider if you guys are thinking about buying a rental. And as I'm thinking about buying this as a rental, here are things I want to consider. Make sure it's clean, safe, and functional. Make sure your unit is the nicest in the area. Because if a recession is coming, you want people to move to yours that's the nicest, but your rents are still kind of very competitive. Granite countertops because they last forever. Get a good pest control service. These are things you can consider. Vinyl floor, tiles, no carpets, right? Because when tenants move out, they just go mop the place. It's easier to clean it. Don't do carpet. Well, you can, but hey. Tenant pays. Some landlords have a provision in there, special provision in their contract saying if anything is less than $50, $100 or $150, do not call me. You fix it. They have it in there. If it's less than, especially if it's a nicer home. And if they sign it, they agree to it. Special provision, right? I'm going to start putting that on my contracts. If it's less than $100, do not call me. And they won't call you. They'll fix it themselves. It's up to you, whichever you want. There's something called energy efficient upgrade. So put what's called like low flow shower heads. Also called low flow plumbing and LED lights. The reason you want to do like energy efficiency is, here's why. You want to help people. The less stress they have with the expenses, the easier they're going to pay you. Does that make sense? So you think for them, you help them. So help them keep their light bill low. They're easily going to pay you every time. So you tenants, again, these are things I'm considering if I want to rent it. Income verification, make sure they can make about 3 times the rent. The income is 3 times of what the rent is. No evictions. I'd rather do no evictions personally, but hey. Or you say within the last 5 years. Do a background check, no criminal history, no sex offenders, right? And the companies that do it, get a credit report, credit history. You want to make sure there are no current delinquencies. Because they have a delinquency with their car note or something else, or the student loans, it's going to compete with your rent. Have you seen? It's a business. You're assessing your risk. Because if they have car note, no, pay mortgage first, right? So you want to make sure that no delinquency, it doesn't compete with your cash flow. And look to minimize vacancies. With my Inglewood, I don't really do minimize my vacancies. So that's why you got to buy it right. You mentioned leverage. You don't want to, see, if you notice my Inglewood, I didn't cash out all the way up to the full 75%. I went to like 68%. Because the higher I cash out, my mortgage is higher. So you got to be careful of greed and over leverage. Some people made mistakes. You mentioned a good point. They cashed out all the way 75%. Now their mortgage is $2,000 and the place will only be rented for $1,600 a month. So you don't have a problem. We'll be calling you also. All right, let's wrap this up. Here's a few things with the rental also. Like same thing I was saying. I'm just analyzing it. So if I do this, basically, long story short, I'll get a 9% ROI. If I decide to rent this property out, 9%. These are the numbers. Now, if I decide to do a wraparound mortgage, I'm not going to go into all the details, but the bottom line is I don't have to worry about repairs. My ROI on this, on my cash on cash, is 22% with no repairs. So rental, 9%, I get depreciation. That's cool. Or I can get 22%. Here's the key. Anyway, use the RMLO, Dodd-Frank, but I don't have time for that. here's what I want to get with the wrap. With your wraparound mortgage, you're the bank. You have three profit centers. You can make money 3 times. 3 times. That's your rent. You're not making cash flow. Okay? Look at my 3 profit centers on this potential wrap. Equity. The balance is 130. Basically, a wraparound mortgage is you're creating, there's a mortgage and you create a new mortgage around it. Does that make sense? So the original mortgage right now, our balance is 130. I can create a new mortgage of 180 because the property's enabled to work at 180. So I know I can find somebody for 180. Remember I told you 150, 200 is your sweet spot? So I know I can sell this at 180, but I know her balance is 130. So I have $50,000 equity if they ever refinance. That's one profit center. The second profit center is my cash flow. I know I can rent for about $1,500 being conservative. She pays about $1,200 a month. So my cash flow, interest rate I charge, her interest rate is not the best, it's 5.25. She probably has about 20 years left. My new wraparound monthly payments will be between $1,500 and $1,600. Conservatively, we'll go with $1,500. But I'm going to charge charge my new buyer 7 to 9%. See the difference between the two? That's my wraparound interest. But now I put a 360-month term. So for 10 years, if they don't refinance my new buyer, I'm getting 10 years of about $1,500, $600 a month coming in my pocket. If they don't refinance. But the reason we try to charge higher interest rate is we try to force them to go get a refinance. Eventually, they work on their credit. Within 5 years, they go get a refinance. And once they refinance, what happens? I get paid out. So my profit center here, $50K, cash flow $300 a month, up to about $3,600 a year. My final one, here's the kicker, guys. You might say, Tim, I don't have $9K. You don't need $9K. You just need to understand the strategy and know the right people. So if their new mortgage is $180,000, what I can do is, if somebody's going to come and buy it from me, you have to put a down payment. We talked about no down payment. We don't do no down payment. You're too much of a risk. What we do is you got to put, if your credit is not good, you got to have some cash. Most immigrants, or maybe like self-employed, there are a lot of business owners, they probably don't have the best credit or they can't qualify, but they have cash. So what we do, most people, believe it or not, their bank accounts, most people out there that are looking for homes, they have about $20,000 at least. And we've seen it, $20,000 cash to get into owner finance home. So what we do, we begin to market on Facebook Marketplace. We market it nice. We market it as a fixture up as is. I don't do any repairs. We go in and just clean it. Make it nice and it's safe and functional. No repairs. We come in and say, okay, you want a house for 180? You can get into a home for 180 in a great neighborhood, great schools in Deer Park. However, you got to put $20,000 down. How much is their arrears? $9,000. So at closing, same thing I do. Oh, you owe $9,000? Okay, whoop, don't worry about it. You want a new home, $20K? I take the $20K, go to the title company. They create an amortization schedule, the deed of trust, promissory note, all the paperwork for all this. Now at closing, I walk away from day one with $11,000 cash. And I'm getting $300 a month, and I have a potential $50,000 equity. That's the power of what you mentioned earlier, Loretta. That's the wraparound mortgage. So I don't have to even own the property. I can still have an underlying mortgage on it. I just wrap around a new mortgage. That's a different exit, right? I have 3 profit centers. The mobile home example, I don't have time for this, but the one I closed on, basically this mobile, I just closed on it. She wanted $25K at first. We negotiated. Again, she had to sell. We ended up negotiating, selling it, buying it for $4,000. No, that's what she wanted. I gave her an option. She chose that one. She chose the $4,000. Hey, she ended up getting $2,900. She's gonna get $2,900 because she has taxes. We paid her taxes for her, and she needed the money. So the bottom line is, we can sell it for about, where is it here? $42,000. So our gross profit is about $36,000, and we're gonna resell on a 10-year note. Put it in the park for 10 years. They're gonna pay us cash flow. We'll be made whole. Our investment, we're gonna be all in for about $8,000 to get the place ready, and we'll get our money back in 17 months. So over the next 103 months left, our gross profit is about $36,000. Okay, return on investment over 10 years is going to be 630%, and our APR is about 3,700%. Right, when you do it over a 2-month period, right? So we just break a number. So this is the difference between like mobile homes, because the money I'm coming in is so low. But the thing about mobile homes, it's a utility because people need somewhere to live. They need somewhere to live. So that's pretty much it. If you guys want your first deal, get started. Ping me. These are different things you can do. You can take a picture of this. You can partner. There's YouTube University. You can get involved in real estate associations. There are books you can read, podcasts listen to. Here are the books I talked about earlier, you mentioned, which I highly recommend because this helped give me a good foundation on books. If you want to know about note investing, read this book, Power of Paper by Troy Forward. It's one of our mentors. Read that book if you're interested in note investing. Cash flow game is a great way to learn about financial literacy. We try to host a cash flow stuff one Saturday a month. It's free. If you want to partner with us, we can partner. Same thing like my friend. I partner with my friend. I told you earlier, we can partner. The opportunities are there. We can work together. I wanted to come to this slide here is because everything I'm saying, there's a team that I'm working with. There's a team. From my virtual assistant, my escrow officer, loan officer, real estate attorney in the title company, CPA, mentors, contractors. My wife, of course, she does help us with interior design. She's also a partner. My insurance agent. So you have a team of about 14 people we work with. But it's not like they're on like a retainer. We work with them, right? We bring business to them. It's win-win. Remember I told you at the beginning of this thing, my mentor told me that real estate is a team sport. So you need a team. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm asking a mere question. I don't have no idea. You need a team. So you're making sure you have time.
Thanks, Tim.
Yeah, that's about it.
Just to wrap up, I just passed out some evaluation forms. Like we say, we're always trying to make improved these sessions. So please provide us some feedback on the classes. If there were additional topics that you guys had hoped we had covered that we didn't, or that Tim didn't get a chance to cover, please definitely include that so that we know how to improve it next time. And just a quick note, so we're going to have the wrap-up session, the third session. It's going to be on the 22nd. It's not going to be next week because of due to Valentine's Day or Valentine's weekend. So we're going to do it on the 22nd, and in that session, we're going to look at all things market-related. So everything from stocks, bonds, ETFs, index funds, blah, blah, blah. So hopefully you guys can come out and we will wrap things up, but can we just give a hand for Tim for the great insight?
Thank you, guys.
Are you going to handle RITs or?
REITs?
Yeah.
Yes, I will talk about.
All right.
Yeah, in the last session.
Yeah, that's definitely more stock market as opposed to
Yeah.
investing. Yeah. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, just ping me anytime or call me or text me. It doesn't matter, email me. I share with people all the time. We don't do any fee or anything like that. Just talk to people. So thanks for your time. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
We still have some more food there, so take your time, use the fellowship, talk about what you heard, eat some more food.
Appreciate it. Thanks for coming down, man. You came from Beaumont?
Yeah.
Oh, man. It's like, what, 45 minutes?
It's over there. It's about an hour, 15 minutes.
Oh, yeah, because this is further in.
Yeah, this further in case.
Yeah, it's further in. Yeah, oh, nice one, man. How's wife and family?
Oh, they're fine.
That good? I know your boys again. Thank you, man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And strong. Big and strong.
Yeah.
Let me have
We'll talk, man. Yeah. What's up, man? Tim, man.
Full show.
Oh, okay, nice. So you,
My other sister.
oh, okay. The one that, Tim. Huh? Sammy. Oh, Sammy, nice to meet you. And what's your name?